Imagine thinking you're starring in a documentary about your life.
We're gonna go score some coke. Crack, 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 crack.
Real quick, give me a hit.
Only to find out your family has tricked you into a surprise rehab ambush on national TV. Welcome to Intervention, the show that said, what if we weaponized empathy for ratings? It was 2005, reality TV was booming. Survivor had people eating bugs, The Bachelor was turning heartbreak into a business model, and then Intervention kicked the door in with a heroin needle and a handheld camera. Every episode was the same intoxicating cocktail, shaky footage, a teary backstory, a slow spiral, and then boom, your family sitting you down to say, we love you, but also there's a van outside. And somehow it worked. Emmys were won. Lives were saved. The internet gave us the best cry ever.
I still love you.
And Intervention became America's favorite form of televised trauma bonding. But under the surface, it was never about healing. It was about how long you could stretch a breakdown across 43 minutes of ad space, because nothing says compassion like watching someone hit rock bottom.
All comes down to drugs though, doesn't it?
Please don't make it any worse for me.
Right before a commercial for Olive Garden, before the viral memes, before the Emmy Awards, before the weeping ex-boxers, Intervention started with something almost wholesome, the delusional belief that television could actually help people. It premiered on March 6th, 2005 on A&E, back when the arts and entertainment part of the name still meant something, instead of addicts and exploitation.
Yeah, I just went and got a little bit high. You know what I mean?
The format was simple, brutal, and oddly effective. Follow one or two addicts as they descend further into chaos, all while believing they're being filmed for a harmless documentary. Then flip the script, bring in the family, cue the tears, roll credits. And in the beginning, it kind of worked. Viewers were gripped. It was intimate, raw, and new. No game shows, no roses, no eliminations. Just one person's slow motion car crash of a life, crash landing into...
I don't need you to tell me that you understand my problem. Dad, I don't need an interruption right now.
An intervention staged with the warmth of a hostage negotiation. The public was fascinated. A&E struck gold. Critics called it bold. And in 2009, the industry followed suit. Intervention won an Emmy for Outstanding Reality Program. A year later, they grabbed another for editing, because if you're going to film someone's rock bottom, you'd better cut it like an Oscar reel. And let's not forget Rocky Lockridge in 2010. That single cry became internet legend. The kind of sob that echoed through Reddit threads, TikTok montages, and every try not to cry compilation known to man. The internet dubbed it the best cry ever, which is a real sentence we all accept now. By 2018, it was still pulling in over 1 million viewers per episode. Intervention wasn't just a show anymore.
So if you could describe Billy, what you see is his weakness and his strengths.
It was a brand. It was trauma TV with a moral high ground, or at least a very convincing illusion of one. But as always in reality TV, the moment you start to believe your own script, that's when things get messy. At first, it looked like Intervention was actually doing some good. People cried, families reunited, addicts went to rehab. The show waved its glossy statistics like a moral permission slip. Only 6 people out of 318 refused treatment.
It's something that really messes with me. I've always had a hard time sleeping because my mind will not stop running.
80% completed a 90-day program. See, we're helping. But here's the thing. If you have to constantly tell people you're ethical, you're probably not. The first cracks appeared not in the ratings, but in the subtext, the vibe, the weird aftertaste you get watching a sobbing woman vomit into a trash can while a cameraman zooms in like it's the Sopranos finale. At some point, even the audience started asking, wait, are we the bad guys? Matthew Gilbert of the Boston Globe said what everyone was thinking. The show was exploitative, not emotional, not educational, exploitative. As in, emotionally mugging people during their worst moment.
You know what, Billy? You took every thing out of her.
Packaging it with piano music and selling it between ads for antidepressants. Meanwhile, producers were out here doing the surprised Pikachu face. How dare you question our integrity just because we lied to people, ambushed them, and filmed their psychotic break for 1 million viewers?
Don't do this.
You almost got hit my car, you moron!
And then came the dark epiphanies. See, while Intervention paraded its success stories, it conveniently glossed over the reality of relapse, death, and long-term consequences. Whole websites popped up to track which former participants had died. 53 and counting, by the way. Suddenly, closure started to look more like canceled. Even the show's executive producer, Dan Partland, basically admitted they were chasing failure. In 2011, he confessed the show puts audiences in a perverse position where they hope people crash and burn because those are the juiciest episodes.
They usually use about $40 worth of heroin a day.
In other words, you're not watching to see them get better. You're watching to see them break. And once the show figured that out, it doubled down. The confrontations got nastier, the spirals got darker, the editing got tighter. It wasn't about healing anymore, it was about hitting that sweet, sweet viral moment. Nothing screams entertainment like a public meltdown with soft lighting and a dramatic pause before the commercial break.
And my tolerance is getting higher and higher, so I'm doing worse things out here on the street to get the money.
And the public noticed. Critics called it shock therapy for views. Addiction specialists warned about the coercive tactics. Bioethicists clutched their pearls so hard they dislocated their fingers. One UK doctor even called the format a cheap gimmick that loaded people with shame, then left them to rot. But the most brutal irony, the actual addicts weren't even the audience. This wasn't addiction awareness. This was reality TV for sober people who wanted to feel morally superior while watching a woman freebase meth in a motel bathroom. And let's talk about the twist of the knife, the lie at the heart of the whole show. Participants were misled into thinking they were filming a documentary. They didn't sign up for a public ambush. They didn't ask to be confronted on camera, manipulated by producers, and broadcast to the nation at their most fragile. By the time the surprise was revealed, they were too deep in the emotional blender to say no.
He died, I died. We lose our baby, everything's gone.
Oh, but they signed a waiver. Sure. While high, while withdrawing, while being told, we're just making a little documentary. That's like getting consent from someone mid-seizure. One bioethicist said it best, this isn't help, it's entertainment wrapped in empathy drag. And as the show grew, so did the backlash. By 2013, even A&E, a network whose other hits included Hoarders and Duck Dynasty, decided enough was enough. They pulled the plug. Intervention aired its last episode in July of that year. Critics rejoiced. Activists breathed a sigh of relief. It was over, until it wasn't. Because like every sitcom character with a drug problem, Intervention made a comeback. In 2015, the Lifetime movie network announced the show's resurrection. Cue the dramatic reboot trailer, same format, shinier cameras, fresh trauma. Only now, things were different.
Dude, you're scaring the out of me. Now you know why she acts like she acts.
The internet had evolved, so had our collective tolerance for fake empathy. By 2022, Intervention launched its 24th season into a wave of fresh criticism. Addiction experts didn't just roll their eyes, they openly dragged it. One called it f***ed, another said it was detrimental to recovery, which you know is kind of a problem when your whole brand is recovery. Meanwhile, the internet was tearing the show apart in real time. Reddit threads dissected episodes like crime scenes. TikTokers reenacted interventions with sock puppets. YouTube reaction channels scored views with thumbnails like crack addict yells at mom, gone emotional.
Yesterday, pawning my guitar, my prized possession, they ended up loaning me $30.
Even the South Park parody, where a sentient towel needs an intervention, felt more compassionate than the real thing. Memes started to overtake message. The best cry ever stopped being tragic and became a punchline. Viewers weren't learning about addiction, they were grading the sobs like Olympic judges. 10, 7, 9. That cry lacked depth, Dave. Try again next week. So when we talk about the peak of the collapse, we're not pointing at a single moment. We're pointing at an entire cultural shift. The moment we realized Intervention wasn't a documentary, it was a tragedy masquerading as redemption. It sold hope but trafficked in humiliation. It promised healing but delivered breakdowns. It claimed to care but only if the tears hit before the commercial break. And by the time it hit season 25 in 2024, it was no longer even pretending to evolve. The same format, the same tropes, the same uncomfortable question. At what point does helping someone become exploiting them?
Pact with each other, literally blood pact, that we would never shoot anything up.
And more importantly, Did we ever really care? There was a time when intervention felt raw, messy, unfiltered, like you were watching a real moment, not a pre-scripted breakdown, not trauma in HD. But now, intervention feels like it's running on autopilot. Same music, same narrator voice, same slow-mo hug at the airport. It's like watching the Fast and Furious franchise, if Vin Diesel's drug of choice was fentanyl and family therapy. Every episode follows the exact same blueprint. Meet the addict, cue childhood trauma, show their drug of choice, cue up the secret meeting, insert tears, drop the intervention like a police raid, then fast forward to rehab and roll credits over X is still sober. For now. It's no longer shocking, it's formulaic. We're not watching real life, we're watching trauma Mad Libs. And it's not just boring, it's insulting because the world has changed. Addiction isn't niche anymore, it's a national crisis. Overdose deaths have skyrocketed since 2005. And yet here's intervention, still using the same voyeuristic tactics from the Bush era, acting like broadcasting someone's withdrawal is an act of public service.
I don't care. I'm pissed. I'm upset. I don't want to speak to nobody.
Worse, the show refuses to evolve. No deep dives into systemic causes. No honest talk about poverty, mental health, or the pharmaceutical industrial complex. Just one more addict crying in a living room while their uncle yells about tough love. That's not awareness. That's performance. Even the success stories come with an asterisk. Sure, they went to rehab, but what happened 6 months later? A year? Did they relapse? Are they alive? The show rarely tells you. It's all about the arc, not the aftermath. And let's not forget the internet. Today, intervention is less social commentary and more cringe compilation. Reaction videos, memes, TikTok edits with trap remixes of people crying. Intervention has become content, not context.
She's leaving in a minute.
It doesn't feel like help anymore. It feels like reality TV's version of a snuff film. Except this time, we're the ones who keep tuning in. This is usually the part where intervention tells you everything's fine now, that the addict went to rehab, got clean, and is totally not relapsing off camera. Fade to black, cue piano. But here's the thing, intervention wasn't built for recovery, it was built for TV. And it almost worked. It almost balanced reality with responsibility. It almost turned public pain into public service. It almost mattered. But almost doesn't hold up over 25 seasons of exploitation disguised as empathy. Because when your entire format depends on catching people at their absolute worst and making it look inspirational, you've already lost the plot. At its core, intervention was never really about healing. It was about the story arc, the dramatic reveal, the telegenic breakdown. If someone got sober, great. If not, well, that's good TV too. Over time, the show stopped being a conversation about addiction and became a machine for producing emotional content. Predictable, marketable, sanitized suffering. And yeah, maybe it opened some eyes. Maybe it helped a few people. But the bigger legacy? A generation of viewers trained to see trauma as binge-worthy content. So, can it be saved? Theoretically, yes. Real ethics, real follow-up, real change. But that's not what keeps the lights on at A&E. So no, probably not. But hey, if you've made it this far without crying into your hoodie, smash that like button and subscribe for more reality checks and let us know in the comments. What show needs a hard intervention? Before we do,
It's here. It's an epidemic.
I love the daylights out here.
Then don't die.
Then don't die.